Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Pump Your Coin. We've got another special episode for you. I'm glad that you're back. Hey, Tom. Good morning. How's it going?
I am doing fantastic, Justin. The market is up. After a couple days of going sideways, the market's finally up today. I'm very anxious. I'm very excited. I'm certainly looking forward to getting out of September and getting to what everybody is predicting to be a fantastic October, fourth quarter of 2021. I'm super excited about it, Justin.
Yeah, that's it. I guess, and if you really had been paying attention to a lot of the personalities in the crypto space back in August, you kind of expected September to look like this, right? Like either sideways or pretty up and down, but it's been a little more down than up, and I think it was fully expected, right?
Yeah. Listening to Raoul Paul, he said that the average explosion in the fourth quarter is a 5 to 10x. So if we can go up 5 to 10x in the next 3 months, next 4 months, next 5 months, I mean, that's just going to be phenomenal and astronomical for this market. If what's going to coincide with everything here is they're talking about approving the first ETF in the United States. If that happens, just to the moon, baby, to the moon.
And that will definitely take us into our conversation here in a little bit, right? Regulation and what does that look like, and how do we become more legitimized? But for right now, we were talking about the market going up. What coins are you in right now? Like, are you in mostly top tens? Obviously you're in Ethereum, right? We all know that. But what else are you in? Are you in any small caps, ultra small, low caps, anything like that?
I'm not in a lot of them. Basically, I only own about 7 coins. I'm mostly Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. I own some Voyager. Then a few other small ones. But I try not. I'm not much of a. Well, I think this whole space is a gamble. I think a lot of people are in here for the money. And so as my opinion about crypto evolves, I think where I put my money evolves, right? So I certainly think, and I know you don't like this, but I certainly think that Ethereum and Bitcoin are the winners. Ethereum is a faster horse, and I'm contemplating putting all my money into Ethereum, just selling out of everything else. So it is one thing I'm doing. Whenever I do
including
see
Bitcoin,
including Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And and the premise is this: when it's a bull market, all altcoins outperform Bitcoin, or for the most part. Ethereum's up 900%. Bitcoin's only up 300%. What did we say the other day? Cardano's up
for the year 3,300. Yeah.
3,300%. So you really don't want to be in Bitcoin whenever it's a bull market. And when it's a bear market, when you can learn when to identify the bear market, you really want to be in stable coins and ride out the bear market until you get into the next bull market. So, I mean, I still would be dollar cost averaging in additional new money into there, but the war chest that I have right now, I want to put into stable coins, dollar cost average during the bear market to buy some low coins, and then get right back into it when the bear market, then take them out of the stable coins, back into Ethereum during the bear market, and then during the bull market, and then ride that wave to the top. Because I just, if you look at what the total addressable market, most people are saying it's around $600 trillion. Let's say that we only go up to $200 trillion in value. That's 100x from where we are right now. I mean, any idiot can pick a crypto and go up 30x in the next 5 years. So I'm just super excited about this space. And, I'm trying to play it smart. I'm dollar and cost averaging every day. So I think I'm going to stick to just Ethereum. And I know that goes against your beliefs there, Justin, but I get it, man. I get it. We all want to find that one horse, and you picked a great horse. Certainly your wealth has grown a lot in these last few years. But I do think that what the path you're on is a gamble. There's no proof yet. It's coming. I know they just came out with smart contracts, right? Smart contracts just came out. Let's pray that nothing happens. There's not a hack, that the system actually works. And then if the system works, will people adopt it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, those are all fair questions, right? I mean, other than, it went off flawlessly. The upgrade, the hard fork combinator event literally could not have gone more perfect. We've been averaging one new smart contract per minute on Cardano since the event took place. So I mean, there are already hundreds of applications and smart contracts being written on Cardano. Obviously, most of those were ready to launch from day one, right? They've been, in the background. There's been the Catalyst program, which provides financial support for growing projects on Cardano. There's the Plutus Pioneer program that has produced thousands of developers able to write Cardano code. So I think the adoption's not going to be an issue. And it could not have been a more perfect event. There were a whole lot of people, eating their words for sure, especially in the Twitterverse, around Cardano. There was one, I think it's called Polymarket. Charles called them out on Twitter, and the next day they said, "Hey, when we're wrong, we're wrong," and they donated $50,000 to the charity of choice for Cardano, which is I can't think of the name of it. They're about yarn wigs for child cancer patients. So it was pretty cool. I appreciate that somebody was like, "Hey, we were wrong." So one day we should have had a bet, I guess, to see where you're at. But I'm not gonna hold my money off of Ethereum, right? Like, I am in this to make money for sure, and I would be a fool to bet against Bitcoin, Cardano, Ethereum, or really any of the top 10 coins at this point. I'm going to be exposed to pretty much all of them. And then just like, I think kind of, for me at least, it's my standard investing philosophy. 90% of my stuff is in my big three: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. I've got a third approximately. In that 90K. And then that other 10% of my portfolio, about 5% of that is still dedicated to, top 100 type coins. So not necessarily just top 10s, but top 100. And then I've got about 5% that are just my moon bags, baby. And when they hit, those are my 100x, 1000x type bags that I'm pretty excited about. So hopefully that 5 to 10x average we see in this closeout quarter turns into a couple of 100x's on a few of my small bags, ultra low cap stuff.
Yeah, certainly. I think everybody goes through that progression, and I did it in my journey in crypto. You start off because you want to make financial gains until you get it, right? Until you get that this is going to become that Bitcoin and and Ethereum will change everything. Cardano will change everything in the world, and they're going to displace so many businesses, so many jobs. I mean, it's really going to be evolutionary. When you finally get that, when you finally realize businesses won't be owned by anybody in the future, when you finally realize, that you will be a member of a metaverse and not a member of a country, when you finally understand how crypto solves wealth inequality, solves problems in the world, when you finally get that, then you understand that, hey, maybe this is not a gamble. Maybe this is everything. So we're not at a casino. We're actually at the future. And all these people, there's a YouTuber that wants to debate me about crypto. He's an anti-crypto guy, and he just doesn't get it. He claims that it's a bubble. And there's a lot of things that are a bubble right now, but the future of everything isn't a bubble. We are at such early stages of it. If you listen to anybody talking about network effect, we're so early in this that if you're not part of it, you're just missing out. And I'm encouraging everybody that I can reach out to become part of it. And so I'm super excited. I just can't wait for this space to explode. And if that happens in the fourth quarter, I don't know, Justin, we might be retiring, buddy.
I'm ready. I promise you, I am ready for that. I as we talk about that, I don't know what the fourth quarter holds, right? I mean, we've talked about ETFs, we've talked about potential regulations, we've talked about just all of these this enormous emotion that's surrounding the environment, right? The fastest adoption of any new technology in all of history, right? Like faster than the internet, faster than computing, faster than cars and locomotives and everything else. I think this fourth quarter is definitely in a boom. After we get through this kind of rough September, we'll be ready. I'm curious to see what kind of, and I very much believe this, what kind of contrived FUD will come from some places that probably from people who are in the industry fully expect, and people who may be newer or less experienced in the industry won't have any idea. And then all of a sudden they'll see, somebody like Gary Gensler put some type of regulation in place, or just whispers of regulation that would probably create some extreme highs and lows over the coming months. And don't let that stuff shake you out of your bags. This next quarter is going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm certainly concerned about what Gary Gensler is doing right now. He did mention, I believe it was out in Colorado, that that a lot of these ICOs that happened during 2017 were securities that he will be coming after a lot of them. I mean, it does beg the question about what's going to happen with Cardano, if they're going to be grouped into that. But my whole problem is, like, who has Gary Gensler's ear? I watched his 10-part YouTube classes from MIT on YouTube, and I really thought that he was going to be a huge benefit to the space, and I'm finding that's not. It's actually contrary to that. I mean, the space needs regulation. We need clarity to know where we're at, so we know where we can go. We need to know if we are securities, if we're not securities. I think they've already deemed Ethereum and Bitcoin property, so they have more clarity than anybody else. But all 6,998 other cryptos, they don't have the clarity yet. And will they be able to operate in the United States? And we know, the United States is the epicenter of all finance right now. We are. I have a prediction in the future we won't be. But so if Gary Gensler starts picking them off one at a time, it's going to be devastating to the market.
Yeah, so I guess a few thoughts on that, right? So first, bringing in a guy who's clearly familiar with crypto, right? And for anybody who's not tracking, Gary Gensler is the chairman of the SEC. And he was a former instructor, professor at MIT, or at least he taught I don't know if it was a full-time professor or if he taught a guest series, but he taught a 10-part series on crypto. And I think a lot of us that were in the space prior to him taking on the role thought that that's probably a pretty good thing. Certainly having some experience and some exposure to it, and not being, an 80-year-old senator who's never, who can't even pronounce crypto. There's probably some benefit there, but at the end of the day, it's almost like he's an executive level politician now, right? I mean, he's gonna follow the money. So you wonder who has his, who's tying the purse strings for him, and who's whispering in his ear. Well, it's still all the old money. You've got all the big banks, all of the, large investment groups. But on top of that, you now have I think you have organizations and people like Coinbase, like FTX, that have his ear now, right? And so regulation, and I think you and I have talked about this in the past, we agree regulation's a necessity for mass adoption, I think, right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But we need clarity. Everybody needs clarity on it doesn't matter. Call them securities, call them property, call them whatever you want to do, but just call them that so that we can move forward.
When we start talking about regulation, we start talking about some of these, who's going to be whispering in his ear. We talk about people like Brian Armstrong at Coinbase, right? The CEO there, multi-trillionaire. A year ago, he wouldn't even give the investors, anybody who's in Coinbase, a 1099 or even a report. It was all, hey, fend for yourself. Sorry if you made some trades, but you got to figure your taxes out on your own. And now here he is, one of the largest proponents of regulation in the industry. Same for FTX, right? So what do you think they're going to be suggesting, right? They're not going to suggest regulation, and they're not going to maybe put some money in some purses there that are going to be in disfavor of Coinbase or FTX, right? So as you start looking at things, you have to know, well, what kind of regulations would favor Coinbase? What would favor FTX? And then on top of that, you look at things like FTX and the CEO there. I mean, they're heavily involved in Solana, right? So does regulation start to favor Solana or any of the other massive investments that Coinbase and FTX Group have put their money behind.
See, I take a little bit different angle on it. I don't think Brian Armstrong is in bed with the SEC because, if you look at the tweet storm that he's put out the other day, he was basically saying, you got to tell us where we stand. The SEC is asking for Brian Armstrong to turn over anybody who was interested in the Lend product. Now, how does that make any sense in any reality that a company was thinking about launching a product and the government wants them to turn over anybody interested in it? That doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's a bigger issue. It's a bigger problem. And it's probably one of the biggest problems we have. And that's money in politics. I think that somebody has Gary Gensler's ear. Now let's make this clear. Gensler came from Wall Street, but he's been working in politics his whole life. And it's all about money. If you look when Barack Obama left office, right, he passed the Obamacare Act. He made hundreds of millions of dollars doing speeches for the healthcare industry after he left. Janet Yellen, who is now the head of the Treasury, was at the head of the Fed. When she left the Fed, she made tens of millions of dollars doing speeches to banks, right? So this is a revolving door theory in politics, and somebody's got Gary Gensler's ear. Somebody is telling Gary Gensler, listen, you play ball with our side, which is probably the banks, and then when you leave the SEC, you're going to be a huge winner in the system. And the system is rigged. The system is screwed. The system is designed to corrupt, to keep the bottom 50% poor. That's exactly what it's all about. That's exactly what it's for. If you look in the last 20 years, or since 2008 financial crisis, the amount the economy grew since 2008 equals the amount of money that we printed. They're the same thing. So if we didn't print the money, our economy would have grown zero. And I am a Trump fan, but Trump's fictitious, we got the greatest economy in the history of the world is a bunch of crap. What he really should have said is we are printing more money than in the history of the world, and that's why our economy is so great. That's the actuality of what happens. And what happens when you print money? Anybody who has money into appreciating assets benefits. So the top 10% hugely benefit, right? If you look at the net worth of the top 10%, it's over 10x in the last 20 years since 2008. Over 10x. All right, since 2008. The bottom 50%, zero growth. Wages, with inflation, have grown 0% for the bottom 50%. So the whole system they have set up, this revolving door theory that's going on, them getting paid for speeches after they get out of office, the bottom 50% getting poorer. I mean, it's just a big conspiracy that crypto fixes. Crypto fixes it all. Sound monetary policy fixes it all.
I guess, so in what way would it fix it? Because when I look at it, at the end of the day, in the last year and a half, we've printed a ton of money, right? Like a ton of money, trillions of dollars, right? Or billions of dollars. The bottom 50% got the majority of that money because, you and I certainly weren't grabbing at least the stimulus, right? We did take advantage probably of the initial offerings for our businesses, but I saw a lot of people, especially college age students and millennials, that took that money and put it into crypto. So I do see them growing their assets. I see them growing their wealth, but I think that's a personal choice, right? It's a decision. It's an educated choice. A lot of people chose to put money in, right? You saw a lot of, that's actually one of the impetus behind GameStop and their big short squeeze, right? People were taking all of their incentive, the money from the government, and putting it into GameStop. So I think there were some people that made some wise decisions, and there are people who will always, regardless of the monetary system, make poor decisions and choose to be poor.
Choose to be poor. You think they choose to be poor. So a child that's born in the ghetto of New York City, his father's in prison, his mom's addicted to crack, grows up on the streets, playing basketball, doing all the stuff you do on the streets, turns 18 and he chooses to be poor. Why can't you understand that people are born in shitty situations? And as a community, we should lift them out of those situations. There's a great video on YouTube, right? It's called Privilege, Class, Social Inequalities, right? And what it is, it's a race. It's a race where they put everybody together on a field, 100 kids, 100 college students on a field, and they said whoever wins the race gets $100. So they said if you have a mother and a father still at your house, take 2 steps forward. If you've never gone to bed hungry, take 2 steps forward. If you had a tutor as a kid, take 2 steps forward. And when you look at it, all the white people are in the front and all the minorities are in the black. And then they start the race with all these people out in front. So, of course, these people who have lived underprivileged, who did not have the educational system that you grew up with, the parental status that you grew up with, I mean, I think it's a responsibility for, I just think it's a responsibility for us as a society to bring everybody up together. Well, I don't see why that, you conservatives, the conservative side, finds that concept hard to understand. You know, and once again, it's fine to drop $1 million bombs in another country, but it's not right to help our society grow together. And I think Bitcoin fixes that. Why does crypto fix that? You're asking, why does it fix that? It fixes that because it promotes us to be savers instead of spenders. I mean, these guys, where do you think Air Jordan, where do you think the #1 billboards across America for Air Jordans, where do you think they are? They're in the freaking hood, all right? They're in the ghetto, right? Why? Because they're spenders. They haven't been taught to save. Let's teach these people how to save. Fixed economic policy, fixed currency solves that problem. Let's bring everybody up together, and I'm telling you, our world will be so much better. And we need to start here in the United States, although I believe that I don't think we have poor people in the United States. I think we have sick people. I think we have drug addicts in the United States that need help. They definitely need help. But we do not have poor people here in the United States. If you add in the rest of the world, there's so much poor out there. There's so much, there's so many people living on dirt floors, and we caused it. The United States caused it. And until we can wrap our head around that, I don't think we can move forward. But Bitcoin, crypto fixes all of that.
Yeah, and I use the U.S. as my basis for that statement, right? Like, I've been to Thailand and India and Afghanistan and Iraq, and I've seen what real poverty is. And I don't suggest that those people are choosing to be poor at all, right? Like, they are born into situations that are, in many cases, insurmountable based on where they're at. But when I talk about somebody getting $1,500 in the U.S. as a stimulus check and choosing to buy Air Jordans, or choosing to buy an iPhone 11 Pro Max, or not choosing to invest in themselves, right? You could put that money into a course rather than buy things. And I think you actually made my case for me. People are spenders. They're buyers. You can't force anybody to save. There's maybe in 200 years, we will have done something to educate enough people that maybe they'll start to shift their habits. But at the end of the day, people love their luxury items, and people feel very entitled to those luxury items. And I don't see that going away. And I don't know that crypto itself will fix that. I don't know that it will change people from, a buying mentality to a savings mentality. I wish that was the case, right? I wish people would invest in appreciating assets. And I go out of my way to coach and teach people in many different areas how to do that, and when to do that, and why to do that. I'll give you an example. We moved to this new house that we're at, and I live in a pretty decent place, got a nice cushy pad here. And I'm pretty happy with it. And we hired a moving company to bring us here, and we had 5 kids that helped us. And most of them were college aged kids, strong young men that could help us. And one was like a 28, 29-year-old. And each one of them, when we showed up here, was like, holy cow, what do you do, man? What do you do? I talked to them. I told them what I do. I told them about real estate investing. I told them about cryptocurrency. I told them about a lot of stuff, but I didn't stop there. I gave them all my personal cell phone number. I texted them after they left, and I had conversations and said, guys, look, if you want to do this, I'm super happy to tell you every single thing you need to do. And I even sent them messages. I sent multiple text messages, and they just stopped replying. They were choosing to be poor. So I think there are many people that just choose to be poor. They had an option. They had somebody who was offering to be a mentor. They had somebody who has demonstrated and proven success, offer to freely give them every bit of advice that they needed, yet they chose to not respond. So that's what I say when I mean when I say people choose to be poor, right? So I think there's going to have to be more to it, and maybe it's education, But people have to be, that's the old, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so even if I'm trying to, vomit every bit of knowledge that I have on them, if they're not ready to listen, they're just not ready to listen. And I don't think it matters whether it's cryptocurrency or blockchain or sound monetary policy or not.
Well, listen, I'm glad that you live in this palace in the sky and you live this fairy tale life with a beautiful wife and kids. And I'm proud of you. I'm glad that you've come from where you were and to where you are now. But you got to admit that there's a certain demographic in our population that doesn't have that opportunity, that is never told these kind of things and never told how to make themselves better. And if you got Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Your basic necessities of life come first. Right? If you have to go out, if you have to go make money, just to eat, just to feed your baby sister, because you're living in this culture where crack is rampant, 40% of all black fathers are in jail or whatever those numbers are. You have a different mentality, all right? And why does crypto fix that? Because when we're given money, money depreciates over time. If you are given this, Justin, and you know that in 1 year, this is going to be worth 3 times as much, you're going to have an incentive to save it. I mean, if you look at El Salvador, they now have an incentive to save Bitcoin. They have an incentive to make a better life. They have an incentive to build their wealth. And that's how crypto fixes it. The sham, the Ponzi scheme, I'm trying to wrap my head around, is fiat currency, is the US dollar a Ponzi scheme? And without a doubt it is. Without a doubt. We spend $7.5 trillion a year, and we bring in half of that in taxes. So we have to keep printing money just to keep that sham up. They won't let the economy fail. There's so many people predicting that the economy will never fail. We will keep printing enough money so that it doesn't go down. And eventually, everybody else is going to say, you know what, United States? We're no longer putting up with this. You can no longer have this great success, which goes to the top 10%, while the rest of the world is having this downturn. So, crypto does fix it. I'd appreciate it if you never said that again.
Well, that was a good explanation. I mean, other than the fact that I did fully describe that I gave 5 young men in poverty the opportunity and they turned it down, I really hope it does. And you're right. So there's some incentive when you have something in your wallet, or you have something on your wall, or you have something on your whatever that's going to appreciate in value. And if you have, a little bit of ability to keep yourself from selling it and buying something instantaneously, hopefully people make that shift, right? Like if there's enough incentive and that your Ethereum is going to be up 10x in a year, maybe you will be wise enough to hold on to it. And I hope that's the case. I'm certainly not rooting against anybody. I just feel like there's a little bit more to the human species than just making purely wise decisions that are black and white, right? There's, like you said, there's a lot of gray, right? And we don't know all of their backgrounds. I don't know that being given anything in life is ever beneficial. I don't think people value what they're given over what they earn in most cases. Does it help? Sure, of course, right? Like you put food on the table. So I think that's fantastic. But I think anytime somebody's given something, it's valued less than whether than if you earned it. So hopefully people just kind of have some incentive to hold, and they make that personal choice.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I don't disagree with that, but we already give everybody the basic essentials to survive in this country. Yeah. Now we just need to give them the right education. All right. Stop spewing the stuff we're spewing. I mean, I don't care what year Christopher Columbus discovered America. That has no impact on my life. What does have impacts on my life is learning about money, financial freedom, success. Money doesn't make you happy, but it certainly takes away the pain points, in life. I don't like doing laundry. So when I make more money, I can pay somebody to do my laundry. So, that makes me happier. So in that sense, money makes you happier. So I believe in education. I believe in getting everybody out of poverty. And I believe that we are on the precipice of such a big explosion of wealth for the masses, and the crypto community is so kind. You know why I think we're so kind is because we went from 0 to hero, right? you're saying like if you don't earn your money, sometimes I feel like I didn't earn the wealth that I've amassed in Bitcoin and crypto because it's gone up so fast, and therefore I'm willing to give it away, give some of it away if it's in the right cause, the right need. I'm willing to sponsor some families who are disadvantaged, and and try to help bring them out of poverty. So that's why I think crypto people are so good, and that the near future. The near future with the evolution, the revolution, all the illusions that are going on right now, the future is so bright for us, man. The future is so bright for us. Now the old guys, the Warren Buffetts of the world who haven't jumped on board, who still don't own a cell phone, they're going to go down with the sinking ship.
Yeah, and he was the perfect man for his generation, but there'll be a new Warren Buffett that rises up, right? Maybe that's Michael Saylor, maybe that's Raoul Pal, or maybe it's somebody else, that's out there that's going to kind of coach us along. And he gave us some great principles, right, for the time that we lived in, and they're probably still tried and true principles, and hopefully we'll find a way to adapt those to the new Lucian, right? Evolution and revolution. Hey guys, if you are excited about the revolution, the evolution, tap that like, hit subscribe, give us a share. Make sure you let the whole community know that we're out there and that we exist. We want to make sure that we are kind of giving some of our philosophical musings to the world about crypto. It's really, really important for the world to understand not just what to buy, when to buy, right? Like we'll have conversations about specific cryptos and why we like them, why we don't like them, maybe some price predictions. We're obviously not financial advisors, but we do a lot of research in this industry, and we're just kind of we will give you some advice to the best of our ability based on what we're seeing in the market. But ultimately, what people need to know and understand is why, right? And that's what we try to give you on a daily basis here is, why are things happening? Sure, there's some regulation stuff happening. Look, Gary Gensler, for example, this is big in the news today, but what's the background behind that? Why is that happening? And how can we use that to predict, future events in this crypto space? And hopefully you guys are gaining some of that knowledge through the conversations that Tom and I have been having. Tom, any final words of wisdom for the viewers?
My only thing was, put your money in appreciating assets. My favorite is crypto. And Michael Saylor for president. I said it here first, okay? I said it here first.
Gosh, he bought like 2 groups of 5,000 more Bitcoin today. It's in the last week. It's crazy. And he's 100% in, right? I agree with Tom, everybody. I hope that you've taken the orange pill and at least gotten down the rabbit hole and start to do a little bit more research with us. And on your way, just make sure you get exposed. All right, everybody. Take it easy.